Welcome, everybody, to your MTD Watch Series, your real-world guide to making tax digital, powered by the ITSA Accountant Network. This show is where we cut through the noise and dive into what MTD really means for your practice, from pricing and presentation to the tools that are helping firms get ahead. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Patrick, aka the QuickBooks Chap, and joining me today are two of the sharpest mind in MTD and a very, very special guest as well. Let's go for our normal co-host, though. Amy, #Audit Amy, co-host of QuickBooks Labs. How are you doing today?
Very well. Kids are back at school today. Very happy. Well, one child. So halfway there. Struggle is real, but we're getting back into normality.
Loving that. #MTD Queen. I think we settled on. I think that's what we settled on.
Yay.
Suzannah M. That's right. M. The ICP bookkeeper and MTD specialist. How are you doing, Suzannah? How's it going?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Dramatically cooler in the office now compared to the last few weeks, which I don't know if I'm pleased about that or not now that it's happened. I want the summer back.
Definitely. And I can't believe we're saying this, but Sam Mitcham, the #Sage Queen, so much so that I'm going to put some confetti on the screen for how excited I am for you to be on. Sam, how have you been? And for the 1.05% out there who don't know who you are, can you give a bit of an intro to yourself, please?
Of course. Thank you so much, Aaron, and thank you everyone for having me on. It's great to be here, and I didn't expect confetti, so thanks for that, Aaron. So I'm Sam Mitcham, and for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm running a small accountancy practice on the Lancashire-Yorkshire border, myself and 3 staff members. We act for a real mixed bag of clients, to be honest, a lot of small local trade, so MTD is absolutely up our street. And as with most things, I'm trying to be out there and kind of get the messaging over to clients and, you know, help other accountants out online as well. I do have a bit of an MTD push coming soon on social media now that I'm kind of back to it. And yeah, I've been stepping back a little bit recently from webinars and all this good stuff. So it's great to be back, and what a way to start being back as well, to be on with you guys. So thank you again for having me.
No, thank you. I mean, it's amazing to have you back. The industry has been crying out for you to come back, so welcome back. In this series, we'll be unpacking the true cost of MTD readiness, exposing the common pitfalls, and particularly relevant for this episode, grilling software on what's working and even dive into what isn't. We're broadcasting live across LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram, and this episode will be available on demand on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Be sure to follow and subscribe so don't miss a moment of the new series. And if you're watching live, drop the question and curveballs into chat, just like we have from Paul. Paul says, afternoon all, first time making the live show. Been following along on the catch up, loving the show and guests. And thanks for coming along, Paul, and thanks for all your questions as well, Paul. Mahu says, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mahu. Hope everything is going well. And Kirsty says, hi, everyone, from March. Right. Let's not waste too much time on this one because we've got a special guest. We want to get straight into it. Now, full disclosure, if you have a question or feedback to put it in, don't forget to use that little area down below. Use the link tree and you can get your questions and feedback to us. We have received some since last week, but we're going to save them up for a special episode in the coming weeks, because when we've got one of these software ones, we want to get straight into the software. We do have a tiny bit of news, just more so that people are we can just have a little bit of chew about this to get us warmed up. Birmingham Live, of all people, I'm not sure why they were involved, but hey, no news. No, that's the wrong way around, isn't it? Some news is good news. It's probably not how that's supposed to be, but anyway, MTD going to mainstream news, so let's talk about it. Birmingham Live was saying with less than a year before 800,000 people will be required to submit quarterly tax returns as part of MTD, HMRC is urging more qualifying self-employed people and agents to sign up. Obviously, there was a much more clickbaity title that was included in here. Basically, go on. There's nothing wrong with what they're saying. Just scaring the pants out of people by the wording they've put in there. But you know what? Actually, maybe that's a good thing. We'll discuss that in a moment. But the interesting bit of this particular one was towards the bottom here. Based on a recent survey by Accounting Conference and Expo Accountex Manchester, how they got that details, I don't know. 1 in 3 of accountants isn't prepared for the deadline. I'm not sure this post here, which is trying to get, you know, the masses to get understanding of MTD. I'm not sure that telling them that 1 in 3 of accountants are not prepared for the deadline is the best way to go against this.
No.
But yeah, 1 in 10 respondents also said they were very unprepared for the change, with a 1% saying they were unsure. Unsure. Yeah, while accountants are further ahead in the process of digitalization than self-employed people submitting their own tax returns, 11% are still using the HMRC portal, and they're saying 11% of accountants are. Yeah. Which will gradually phased out for most self-assessment returns in the years. We're not going to spend too long on this. I did see that Carolyn Hobden, friend of the show, also got a shout out as well, saying MTD ranking so highly as both a challenge and an opportunity highlights how distinct this transition period will be for many in the industry. And she goes on saying lots and lots more. We won't spend too much time on there because we want to get into the crux of today's show, but it's good news, isn't it, that it's in the mainstream? That's good. We're all agreed on that. Nod if you agree.
Yeah. Well, it's raising awareness, isn't it? I'm not sure about the negative spin on it, and it's a bit clickbaity, like you said. But it's good that it's coming from somebody other than just us accountants and bookkeepers, which are where most people are hearing it from at the moment. It does need to be more in the media. And HMRC need to be kind of talking about it more, but yeah.
100%. Just on that negativity bit though, I mean, obviously this is a journalist, so they've got to make this worthwhile. They've got to pad it out a little bit, right? They couldn't just say MTD's come in, deal with it sort of thing. But surely there's way more that can be talked about than talking about 1 in 3 accountants just not prepared. Any thoughts on that? Is there anything else that, does that feel right? Do you think it is as high as 1 in 3?
Yeah, I think so. I'm still talking to accountants and bookkeepers that are not even thinking about it. There's still some that are like, yeah, it's not going to happen. They're still there. So, I must admit there are definitely some bookkeepers that are still not aware of it. If you haven't had any letters, or your clients haven't had any letters, and you're not getting involved with Accountex and watching things like this on LinkedIn, because there's so many people that aren't, how would you know?
There are plenty of people, like you say, who are just not engaged with what's going on. They might not even have a professional body. They might just have their AML through HMRC. Yeah. If they're not, there hasn't been a huge amount of publicity, has there? It's literally been in our echo chamber on the channels that we're all involved in. And yeah, I can see that there's people who probably are not prepared. Yeah, burying their head in the sand.
And Sam, you mentioned you just about to put your big social media push out there. Was that forced because clients are asking you questions, or because they're seeing stuff in the news, or because they're getting letters? Why now for getting that social media post out there?
Yeah, so the reason I want to go kind of now is to capture the mass of my client base before HMRC get there. So obviously the larger sole traders have had their letters if they've been over 50k, right? But that's based on 23-24, because HMRC can't wait to 24-25 because the deadline is so close to when MTD comes in. So that's like misconception number one, because everyone's like, well, which year is this based on? Well, it's going to be based on 24-25, but your trigger letter will have been based on 23-24. So already I'm like, right, if this is chaotic for us as accountants, how are my clients going to get their head around this? So I want to go out there with a bit of a myth busting straight away. Like, this is what people are getting confused over. So I'm here to simplify it. But the main reason I wanted to go now is because I always want to get in there before HMRC do. I never want a client to be ringing me and saying, I've got a letter about something that you've not told me about, or you haven't got on your social channels, because all my clients like naturally look on LinkedIn or my Instagram or Facebook, or, that's kind of where they know that I hang out. So if they're getting a letter from the revenue telling them about something I haven't yet even mentioned, that's not great for their kind of confidence in me, or as us as a practice, should I say. And then just on that like negativity thing, I think that's really interesting. And what I'm seeing in like the WhatsApp groups and the LinkedIn and, you know, like all the places we're hanging out as accountants is that like negativity breeds negativity, right?
Agreed.
So I'm thinking like, should I step up here and start a positive only MTD group? And like, we need to get some positivity in this because we might not like it, but there's no point sitting moaning about it every day because it's happening. It is happening. So I'm thinking like we need to, and if it's all negative within our industry, that's going to breed and spread out to the client base. So then if they get a negative image from us and we're meant to be the ones that, you know, are there saying it's going to help you, it's going to give you a better idea of taxes. So I just think that whole negative spin thing, I've been keeping really quiet about MTD lately because I want to come with a positive attitude, but I'm not seeing much positivity.
And there are lots of positives to talk about. So, you know, I think you're right. I think we do need to push those positive features a little bit more, and you know, all the different positive outcomes that clients are going to benefit from. So yeah,
especially when most of this conversation and most of the reason the accounting industry is so frustrated about it is because of the fee side, right? And that's one topic we've not yet covered on the Watch series. Is for a later conversation. But the reason it's for the later conversation is because it's still so unknown. And if you go at it with that negativity, like Sam's saying there, you're already on the back foot when it comes to fees, right?
Exactly.
Like
if we're telling them it's bad news and then we're going to charge more for it, that makes it so much harder.
Yeah.
You know, for us to get that outcome.
Yeah, it starts with the, unfortunately, in 24-25, you've gone over. So this means now you've got to report quarterly. And they're like, and then I'm like, so the best way to do this is get a business bank account. Oh, for God's sake. And that's how it starts.
Yeah.
So I must admit, I'm a little bit guilty of that at the start, being like, unfortunately, you've got to do this. But now I'm trying to be like, right, well done. Yeah. You know, like you do with the corporation tax. You are now in the 25%.
Great news, you've got a massive tax bill.
But you're doing well for yourself, you know, that kind of thing. We need to, and we need that from the top, don't we? We need that from HMRC. That we've said before, there's that kind of mixed message of what is this benefit? You know, who's it benefiting? We need a bit more of that, and then we can go, look, they're saying it. Now
it's another thing people to moan about, though, isn't it? I think the media are putting. I mean, there's so much negativity just generally with regards to
life,
anything to do with the economy, cost of living, everything. It doesn't help to add to that, but it's very easy for them to. Oh, look, here's another thing we can moan about and stir everybody up about. But yeah, I think you're right. I think we do need to focus on the positives.
So Sam's starting a group that we're all going to join, and we're all going to be positive and smiley emojis. This is happening, and this is going to be great.
Yeah, one bit of negativity, you're out. That's the rule. I always forget the Instagram family, but thank you very much for joining us. James is in there, and James is in coming. Is it 2 weeks' time? He's on the show, something like that. He'll be on the show talking about sharing his knowledge. But he says, I want to know who they asked for those stats. That's a very good question to ask, James. We'll try to do some investigating. We'll speak to a friend of the show, Caroline, and see if she'll divulge where or how they got access to that information, because it'd be interesting to know. Right, that's enough of the news. Let's go on to our topic of the show, which is, of course, all about Sam and her history and allegiance, I think is the fairest way to say it, for the wonderful Sage. Before we go into that, let's kind of set the scene as to why we're doing this and what the reason for this is, because I firmly believe that MTD is a great opportunity for all the vendors out there to get a chance to win us over, right? Prior to this, we may have already decided that our clients are on X or Y or Z or whatever solution we're using. I really do think that Sage is that great reset that gives us an opportunity to look at what they're doing, because a lot of the solutions out there are actually giving us some brand new SKUs, brand new solutions. They're giving us new ways to interact. And, you know, I don't know about you lot, but for me, this is the most exciting time in the vendor space we've ever had, because they're always bringing something new out, and they're trying to win us over with this new element of it, especially with AI being involved as well. Like we're getting this kind of almost, it's the perfect solution where we've got MTD as this compliance change, but AI is this new fancy word, and we're getting solutions being built that's kind of seeing best of both worlds kind of put together. And what we wanted to do on the MTD Watch series in these ones is kind of, we're saying it a battle, but it's very loosely battle, right? This is the opportunity for us to assess what solutions are out there, because I am not 100% convinced that I've got it right with my client base at this point in time. There's solutions out there that I think is going to be better suited for them. And I think we need to have that opportunity to listen to what the other solutions can do and everything else. So when it came to Sage, there was just one person that we thought we needed to speak to. There's one person we reached out to. And there's a reason we wanted this one to be first as well, because I personally think Sage, with all that ecosystem, everything there's a lot to listen to. So I'm going to let Sam give a bit of a brief history. Why Sage in the first place, Sam? Like, what was the reason for you for originally choosing to back them for your business? And if you want to kind of give a start of what you're going to be using and how you're going to be using them for MTD, that'll be amazing, and we can go from there.
Cool, absolutely. Okay, so background story of why Sage. I guess I just kind of grew up on Sage, right? So from being 17 years old, I was using Sage 50. I automatically kind of started looking at what they were doing digitally when we're talking the really, really early days of cloud. And we all know that their first offering was not fantastic. But I think the practice I was at the time was giving me kind of a free rein with cloud solutions, which was really exciting because I was still, young and in like the midst of that, really like buzzing on anything new in my career. And it was like my chance to prove myself. And the thing that stood out for me with Sage back then is still the thing that stands out now, which is the support. Yes. So you just kind of mentioned it then, Aaron, that this is an opportunity for us to really use and abuse the vendors. You didn't say it quite like that, but that's how I'm going to say it. Because these vendors, given MTD is fast approaching, and it really is fast approaching now, because we all know how quickly Christmas comes around after summer and then tax return season and so on, they have got to prove to us that their offering is there, that it's the best, that we want to use it. So back to how my journey with Sage began, I stuck with them because the support was really good. And by support, I mean, I've always had a human being that I can speak to on the phone, on WhatsApp, on text message, on email. And that for me meant a lot, so much that I was like, okay, let's forgive them this early version that wasn't fantastic and see where they go with this. So when I started my practice in 2019, it was naturally just going to be Sage. I'm not a Sage only practice, which people kind of assume that we do only deal with Sage. We don't. We have QuickBooks. We have, I think I have a couple on free agents still. We have Xero. We do have others. I've never said that it was just Sage, because for me, that would mean turning away certain clients, because, Sage isn't right for my whole client base. It's not. And I'm not going to sell it to someone that I believe, let's say Xero or QuickBooks, whatever, is better for. But the majority of the clients are on Sage. We get amazing customer service from Sage. And I guess moving into MTD, why am I sticking with them? It's not just because I'm now known to be with Sage. Like, I'm not sponsored by Sage, and I'm not going to be there saying to my clients, oh, you've got to go with this MTD solution just because I'm Team Green. Like, that's not where we're at. I've been looking at what they're doing, and I don't think it can be argued that there is any other vendor that's doing as much as Sage are for MTD for income tax. So like the road shows they've done, they're not just, oh, here's our software and it's really great. They're like going into the technicalities, they're going into the pricing, they're going into the, what does this actually mean for you and your practice, right? And that's what we're interested in. This is huge for us, for staff, for clients, for our like workflow, all of that. It's huge. And what I'm seeing from Sage is that they're targeting every area. They're not just saying, yeah, we're going to have a product. That's like one little element of what they're doing. But they're also saying, we understand what this is like for your practice, and we're actually going to be helping you with the workflow. We're going to be publicising how we see pricing should work. Like at the road shows, there was actually part of it was about the pricing, which is one of the hardest bits for us, I think.
Yeah.
So again, I've got to drill down on that, like, support. But then going a step further, the software's looking absolutely great, but I could sit here and just talk. So I'll let you lead your show, Aaron. But yeah, if we moved on to the software bit, it is looking really good, like really strong.
I think before we get to the software bit, because I completely agree with that aspect of the amount of knowledge they've just been given out about, like, Sage themselves, like the amount of times that I'll always remember I was at a particular show, and I won't say which show it was because it's unfair on the other vendors, but it was to a targeted audience of accountants, and it was a slot for Sage, QuickBooks, and Xero, to basically showcase their MTD. It was an MTD focused event, right? So that was the brief to go on there. And Chris Downing came on stage and he spoke about what you said there, pricing and the impact and what training you're going to need to do for your staff and for your team and all that. And basically everything else, and at the very end was like, oh yeah, we've got a product and yeah, it's great, whatever. But you know, he obviously did better than that. But that was basically his talk. Xero came on and they were showing us how to file a MTD return using this clunky software, and it wasn't quite working on stage, and it was a bit awkward for everyone. And clearly, it was in like super beta or whatever, and it, you know, and that's what people remember then. So Xero can't file MTD, you know, when clearly they can, but at this point, that's what we've done. And then QuickBooks, and I'll always defend QuickBooks normally, but they just came and showed you how to reconcile a bank. It's like, well, hey, I mean, how is that helping us, you know, from MTD? So just from that one bit there, I completely agree. I think they've seen this as an opportunity to go, right, how do we support accountants? Like, let's we say that accountants and bookkeepers are partners with us, but how do we actually show that? Like, we always say, don't we, like, actions speak way louder than words, so that anyone can say that we're partners or account or anything else. But I think Sage have gone out their way to do that. My first question, and I'll let Susan and Amy come in after this, but my first question is, how do you feel about that whole ecosystem? Because as an outsider looking in, you know, grass is always greener, looking over the fence, and I'm peeking over to people like yourself. Like, how are you finding that whole ecosystem? Because that's where they have that massive advantage, isn't it? It's not just one product that's client facing, but you've got proposals, you've got all the other elements are in there, right? Is that one of the reasons why you feel so supported, or have you even ignored most of that stuff?
No, it's definitely part of it. Like, since starting up, obviously I haven't been in practice all that long in my own firm, but since day one, all I've wanted is like an end-to-end. And I appreciate an end-to-end doesn't work all the time for larger firms, but I'm not running a huge organization. And all I want is for software that speaks to my other software. Like, it's 2025, we're talking about AI, yet we still have this clunky, a client changes an address and I've got to go here and here and here and have a checklist for a checklist for a checklist. I'm like, whoa. So all I've ever wanted is that kind of end-to-end. And I'm on the advisory board for Sage, so I do get to see what's up and coming, and I'm like really excited by where they're going with this. And I do see that they're taking MTD as an opportunity to build that ecosystem more into our kind of eye line, if you like, and kind of say, well, it's going to be a huge difference in your workflow. But if you use the Sage for Accountants, which now has task management, you could actually task this, and this submission, which would then pull through to this software, which is where you're doing your submission, you know, and they're like, all those jigsaw pieces are coming together. Was it there in 2019 when I first set up? No, but, you know, I've stuck with them, and I can now see it's growing from like strength to strength. I mean, you've called out, you've name dropped Chris Downing before I did, Aaron, but obviously it would be wrong for me to not give him kind of giving what's due here. He has now got the title Mr. MTD. I first heard it said to him on a night out, and he was like, don't ever say that again. And now he's walking around basically with it on, right? Like, owning that. And rightly so, because Chris is very much acting as the voice of the accountants. He was an accountant in practice. you know, a lot of people that work for software vendors say, oh, I used to work in practice. But the difference with Chris is I believe he can still remember the pain points, and he puts effort into remembering like what it's actually like to be on the other side. And he is an absolute whiz kid when it comes to MTD. There isn't anyone I know that has gone that far into the detail, because he lives and breathes what, you know, like, so passionate about what he does. So having been on, you know, many stages with Chris and HMRC talking about MTD, I think like just for that reason alone, have a look at Sage, because they're talking to the accountants and to HMRC. So, you know, whatever they're doing from this point on, it's supported by every angle, because they've got the accountant's voice, but they're also in there with HMRC doing the roadshows and the panels at events like Accountex. So I think, you know, just from that point of view, it's a no-brainer for me to at least have a look at what they're doing. And, you know, coming back to your question, Aaron, that whole ecosystem, yes, it is one of the reasons that I love using Sage, but I think we're about to see that ecosystem hit a new level, because MTD for income tax is messy. It's really messy, because we have so many deadlines. We have, you know, the penalty regime to get our heads around. We've got clients that have never used software that need onboarding really quickly. And I can see things coming together now that, yeah, they might have already been there, but actually MTD for income tax is giving Sage that opportunity to like prove that ecosystem again.
I love that. Suzannah, Amy, any points you want to bring up so far?
Yeah, I just wanted to say off the back on that, on the ecosystem side of things, because speaking to, well, even actually in the article saying about a lot of people are still using HMRC website to do the submissions for the year end, like accountants and bookkeepers. So maybe they don't even have a practice management tool or anything. A couple of weeks ago, we spoke about all the tools that we're using. So actually you talking about an ecosystem where everything is going to be there. I'm assuming from the point, obviously, the engagement letters, the proposals, we know about that with Sage, going through to the workflows, recording everything that's submitted, going through to the submissions in one ecosystem. It does sound very appealing. Again, my history is the same as Sam in that I trained on Sage Line 50. I think we all did pretty much. That was the go-to. Yeah, I will still talk in Sage codes and T9s and T1s to this day. It will never leave me. Yeah. But I don't use it. Yeah. I don't use any of it anymore. I have a few clients that are on it that do their own bookkeeping, but actually I've longed for that end-to-end. I know, shiny new things. So actually that really does appeal, and it's good to hear that they're looking at not just the MTD submission, but the process to get there. And that sounds very appealing. So rather than a question, it was more of a case of I can completely buy into that from a person that's not been using Sage for years in my own practice and before that. So yeah, definitely something to watch. And I know, Suzannah, you are using Sage, aren't you?
Yeah, I have got a couple of clients still on Sage. And going back to what Sam was saying about the support we get from Sage, yeah, I totally agree. It's really excellent. And the other thing that I love about Sage is how they very much promote working with an accountant or bookkeeper, unlike some of the other softwares, as we know, who keep telling people they can just do it all themselves at the touch of a button. So, yeah, I think Sage are a little bit more honest when it comes to that, which is good. Yeah,
I think back to you, I think for me, the bit that you're telling me there is kind of one of my biggest fear factors, because we long for this really smooth client engagement for this, right? Because let's be fully frank here, when we're talking about MTD, we're talking about the numbers involved. You know, it doesn't matter what article you do, it's either 500,000 or 800,000 or whatever the number is that apparently is going to be needing our help. But the truth of the matter is there's actually going to be very little meat on the bone in terms of fees we could charge the clients for this sort of work, right? Like, this isn't going to be a get rich scheme, a quick scheme for accountants, is it? This is going to be providing support for clients who need it. And I think the only way we're going to be able to provide the support is by having that really tight integrated ecosystem that you've been talking about there. I mean, is that available just for the Sage users, or is there bots that we could use if we're not on Sage? Do you know, with the bits that you've seen, do you know if that's kind of available to us, or is it unless you're in the Sage ecosystem, you won't really get the benefit out of it?
No, I think that there are definitely elements that you could dip in and out of, because if you were putting a few clients on, naturally Sage would bring you onto Sage for Accountants, which is their kind of, if you like, in its simplest format, the first screen you see when you log in. If you had a few clients on, you could still go on that, right? You're not having to pay for that as an actual product. It's just the way to get in to your products. And then one of the really good things about Sage for Accountants as that kind of first login is that they've never forced you to only have your Sage clients on there. So as it stands at the minute, or should I say even, let's say, I don't know, 6 months or a year back, like before we were so focused on MTD for income tax, they already had the VAT Centre where I could use Sage for Accountants to get into other clients on other software. So I can still have that client on there, but actually it takes me into Xero and not into Sage. I mean, how that works, I don't know. Is that just a hyperlink? That I don't know, because I'm not techie like that, and you'd be able to work that out. But my point being, Sage are not forcing you to be like, this is how you access your Sage clients. And I think that's a really clever move, that they've actually gone, this is a platform, anyone can use it. You can have one or you could have 100 Sage clients, but you can also access the software that you're choosing to use for other clients. And I think that's a really, really clever move, because it just pushes you to that place. And then it's like, well, yeah, I might have a few on this, that, and the other software, but Sage becomes that hub. And I've always said, like, any vendor trying to build this ecosystem needs to start with a strong foundation, because you know, that's what it's all about. We can't service a client until we've onboarded them. So I've always said to any vendor that's interested in my opinion, like, nail that step. If you're looking to do this like whole ecosystem, let's get the foundations ready. Let's make it so that me, Sam Mitcham, the accountant, can't sign a client up without, you know, thinking about going into the kind of Sage system, even if I don't then choose that as the best software to use for the bookkeeping. If you see what I mean with that.
Yeah, and that's really important, right? Because one of the big pain points we've got, and we've still not found a solution for, and I'm not saying Sage definitely has a solution now, you know, it might come over time, but we still can't get a client list, right? Like, we go into HMRC's portal now, go to MTD area, we've got to know that, is it, I can't remember if it's National Insurance or UTR, one of the two we've got to know, to be able to even find out if the clients even, you know, register with us, and then we can finally get access to whatever data we're looking for, right? So just having a list of clients that are going to be there is you know, in itself invaluable at this point in time. So I think that's a really, and I wasn't aware that they had that ability to be able to connect to the ones. I think that's a massive step up. So talk to us about, because this is the bit where, again, me being ultra nerdy and ultra, you know, into the bit that gets me massively excited. And tell me if I'm wrong here, but from what I can tell, Sage went and actually built new versions of Sage, particularly for MTD, right? And designed from the ground up for MTD. Yeah. How are they? Like, what are they like? What are their strengths, weaknesses? Talk to us about them.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, they did. And I think, I mean, you know, not to just sit here and be like, Sage is 100% always got it right and positive, because one thing that I will say about Sage that frustrates me is the name changes of products. I find it quite confusing. But again, I think that they are coming in as an opportunity here and going, well, this is how we're going to land MTD for income tax. And it's good. Like, the names make sense, and how they're like positioning each product also makes sense. So they have Sage Accounts Prep, which is actually powered by auto entry. So like, I won't focus too heavily on that, because I know we were speaking before that you're going to like focus in on that on a future episode. But just as an overview, that's your kind of shoebox clients, really quick, fast way to get data in. It's going to be fast bookkeeping where the client isn't necessarily digitally enabled. or willing to, to get involved. So you can just scan balance bank. You've got a trial balance, you've got a set of accounts, and you're doing MTD as well. But back to the actual product that they've launched for MTD for income tax. So Sage Individual, which is ideal for the smaller clients. So Sage Individual, the name says it all. Individual makes you think of a sole trader, which is what we're dealing with here for income tax. Already, I like it. Okay. So then they've got 2 versions of the Sage Individual, and the first one is going to be free, which I think's a power move, in my opinion. Like, to be able to go in with, we can solve this product software issue for free is powerful. The free version, of course, it has some restrictions, so you can't do sales invoicing on it because it's not made for the clients that want to use that software every day to do like their own sales invoicing and sending out to customers. This is a data capture point for the requirements for MTD for income tax. The client could do it, or we could do it as a client, or you can work together, however that looks. And then the next version of Sage Individual is priced at £4 a month. I'm pretty sure that's the price point, £4 a month. And that's where the capabilities expand, and you do have, the sales invoicing. And again, that is an entry level. So it is still your smaller clients. It's your sole traders. I did check with them before coming on that I'm allowed to say they are also going to be offering a version of that for property. Now, it's not going to be, so it's not going to be your multi-ownership portfolio, complex property clients. Personally, and I know Sage do work alongside Hancock. I think Hancock is the given there, and I think we've all kind of, we've seen Hancock around now, and we know that they're kind of absolutely smashing it in that space. But Sage Individual are going to be developing a version for property, so for the landlords. So that's really interesting. I haven't seen it yet, but if it's following what I have seen and used from Sage Individual, then it's going to be a product we can trust. And then we've got Sage Accounting, which is a product that's already out there. So anybody that is using Sage probably already has clients on Sage Accounting, and that product is going to be MTD compatible. So that is where you would look at your larger sole traders, your VAT registered, potentially your CIS, because the individual product, although you could, it's a funny one, CIS, isn't it? Because you could process the transactions of a subby on any product, but you can't necessarily raise sales invoices that split out CIS. That's when you're looking at like Sage Accounting, which you would as well for a VAT registered client. So in terms of the tiers, so to speak, I think it's pretty obvious that, we've got Sage Individual for the more basic, and that's a free version or a £4 a month version. Or we've got Sage Accounting for kind of your proper invoicing, if you like, or anything a bit of a step up, being VAT registered or CIS or anything like that. There's some things that are like running through both products that I think are really good, just like quirks, that it's nice to see that are on the entry level as well as the higher paid products. Like you can set it up so that you can message clients within the product, which I think is quite nice for the lower end of sole traders and stuff. I act for a lot of tradespeople, and I know from the onset that email is not even a thing. Like, why? Email's not a thing. Email's something. They're not interested. So unless I'm going to be relying on WhatsApp or text message, like I'm kind of struggling with those guys, because although yes, all right, we can have a client portal, which is all pretty and fancy through our practice management software. Again, the trigger point is usually an email, or it's still getting them to sign into and like buy into something that they're not having to do. Whereas MTD, they're going to have to do it. So they're probably going to have access to the Sage software. And the fact that I can message them in there and kind of say, hey, remember, I needed you to do this thing so that I can submit this for you. That's like really powerful. So there's a few things like that I'm thinking, yeah, that's good, but that's like in all the way through. I think like anyone that's kind of thinking, oh, well, it all sounds good, but just try it. Like if you're going to put somebody in the beta, why not try it on Sage, especially if they were a client that did fit on that individual tier where it's not actually costing you anything, because what it's like no-brainer to put one on and try it. But yeah, the product that I'm using it because I've got a client in, and it's good. It's really good. I've not got great concerns, yeah.
Amazing. Well, I've got some follow-up questions. Amy, Susan, have you got any that you want to throw in first of all?
I was just going to say, me? All right. I was just going to say about going back to pricing. They offer quite good partner discounts as well, don't they, to accountants and bookkeepers who are paying for the subscriptions on behalf of the client. I think better than some of the other ones. So
yes,
that's worth bearing in mind as well.
Yeah, they are. I'd say definitely from my point of view, obviously, I can't remember exactly how QuickBooks works, but obviously Xero have got their tiers, haven't they? And I am on the lower, so I'm not getting as much discount as somebody else. I don't want to do them a misjustice with that. But as far as I'm concerned, I get the highest discount across the softwares we use from Sage, definitely. And they have recently quite recently anyway, changed the way that looks. So it is quite nice and like visually pleasing. Now, if you were to say to Sage, how much do I pay as an accountant? What they'll send you back is quite a nice, like easy to understand price structure, which is always important to me because there's nothing I hate more than a complex pricing structure from a software.
Yeah, agree.
Mine was going to be along the lines. I've got a similar kind of portfolio to you. I've got a lot of tradespeople at the moment. Most of them don't even have a separate bank account. They're doing it personally on that individual version. And I know a lot of them are serious, so they might have to go into the higher tier. Do we have the ability for them to snap and store receipts in there? So we've got the evidence. Yeah, so we've got that, and the kind of dismissal the personal transactions if they don't end up getting a business bank account, because I suspect we're going to get to a point of April and I'm going to have some that are still doing it through their personal bank account, and I'm going to get every takeaway going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is something that I raised with Sage right in the early days of the development of the product, when I was like sat in the advisory board meetings, because they were talking about, and the step one, everybody get a business bank account, but we can say that to clients. We're going to be filtering through Netflix and Just Eat and God knows what else. We all know this, so yes, it does. It's quick and easy as well. Like rules and all the stuff we've seen and we know and love now with bank feeds and rules and everything is all there. And yes, on the purchase receipt capture bit, that is kind of inbuilt. Again, I would just say give it a try, because there's nothing to, literally nothing to lose, especially on that free product. So yeah, but the features that you're asking for, they are there. So
amazing.
And just to clarify on that, are we saying it's auto entry, as in that's the receipt capture, or is it a separate one built in?
No, it's not. It's not auto. I mean, I wouldn't like to sit here and say that there's definitely no link to auto entry in the background. I don't believe there is, but again, Aaron, I'm not the most techie person in the world. What I can tell you is that there's no indication that that's powered by auto entry in any way. I don't think it is. I think it's an inbuilt. It's definitely not a different login or anything like that, like it is if you use auto entry with accounting as a standalone. It is purchase capture or whatever it is they've called it, I can't remember. And that is in the product. It's not a standalone.
Amazing. Because that was always kind of.
Can they do that via an app or anything, like a mobile app?
Yeah, the Sage accounting app, I believe. I haven't actually downloaded the app that will support individuals, so I haven't actually been on and used it. But more than happy to jump back on about the app at a later point with you guys, because it is something that when I get like pushing this out to more clients, again, because I act for a lot of trades and, you know, all those clients that we know and love, they're only going to be interested in an app. So as far as I know, it is the same app as we would use now for the clients that are on accounting, which, yes, you can do receipt capture directly through accounting app without having a separate app on auto entry. Like, you can have auto entry integrated through, but you can also already do receipt capture on the accounting app. So I can only make the assumption that it'll be the, you know, the same process.
I mean, just that part alone about having that communication part where you can have that chat with them, I already see that as a major benefit. We know a lot of us are trying to make WhatsApp work or trying to get into it, but there's so much risk there, isn't there? So much inherent problems and issues and everything else. And I think from a client's point of view, actually, for them to have that separate area, that separate app on their phone that is Sage or whatever it's going to, you know, whatever the full name of it is, that's where I talk to my accountant for. That's a nice secure area where I can send stuff to them and you know, and they can have, I feel like that is the story of MTD, isn't it? Where we're trying to, like Amy was saying, they're trying to discipline them to do the right thing, get the right bank accounts, do everything else. And if we can discipline them to, look, if something pops up in here, then we really need you to act on it, and it's here, and, you know, it's not in with your WhatsApp groups with all your other fancy football groups and everything else that's there, right? Like, this is, you know, really important. If you could just you know, prioritize these, and we'll have a great relationship with you and the client. So that's the sort of thing that MTD has given the opportunity to let the vendors do things like that for us, right? And see the pain point. Like you said, they recognize these pain points, right? So yeah, I mean, that's one thing I've been asking, a particular solution that I quite happily promote on a regular basis to implement for some time. But the fact that Sage has kind of got there straight away. And how does it work in the background? Is that something that goes into like your big accountant like view area? Can you see all the messages in there? Can the whole team have access to it and things like that?
Yeah, the whole team can access that client's like messages that have gone back and forward to that client within the product. And again, if you were using like the Sage for accountants as a whole, you'd kind of see how all that came together, if you like. I can see the journey they're taking us on here where it would end up all together, but I think the beauty in the fact that even if you're just using that as like a standalone product, let's say accounting or whatever, that you can have that messaging function, exactly what you just said, Aaron, that like it brings it all in one place. I know that they're again, I can't think who it's like powered by, but the whole like click to pay here in invoice and the tap to pay and all that stuff as well, that's all getting like built in. So again, that for my, again, I'm picking on the trades because these are the ones that I know are going to go, I'm not doing that. And I'll be like, well, you are, so let's, you know, let me hold your hand and we'll show you how, because you are. And you know, I love working with that kind of client, but I love making things easy for them, and I love making it so that I'm doing all the stuff they don't want to do, but also they are going to have some involvement. And you know, the ones that do want to do the sales invoicing, once I can prove to them, you can raise an invoice, you can raise a quote from your van, then go to your next job and then invoice your last job. And then actually you can do a tap to pay with that customer whilst he's stood in front of you, whilst he's happy with the work you've just done. That's when it becomes attractive to them. So again, I think Sage capturing that whole journey, you know, they just need something out there now that actually captures that journey to like sell it to the masses, because I think it's really powerful that, you know, looking at these smaller end of clients that don't already necessarily have solutions like card payments, and you know, they're not all carrying around a card machine in the work trousers when they're going to do some plastering. Some are, but some aren't. So if we can go in and say, not only are we going to give you this app that you can do your invoicing and email it to customers on, but actually you can get paid on it too. And then all of a sudden they're a little bit interested. Oh, money quickly, you know, like that's when they get excited.
And presumably by doing it that way, it's easier from a bookkeeping perspective, because you haven't got to feed in another kind of card machine as a separate bank account and all the fees and all the all the transfers across to the main bank account. I'm assuming it's all built in, and that they just pay a separate monthly fee or something for that feature.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the same kind of idea as the Stripe integration that has been on accounting for a long time. I know that's something that I've used in my practice for a long time, with that pay now button on the sales invoices. And I don't even apart from ensuring that it's going to the right nominal with the VAT treatment being correct, I don't get involved with paying those invoices off, other than to say, yeah, that's a match when it comes through the bank feed, because that integration already deals with all the Stripe fees. So it's, again, seamless. And yeah, absolutely, because again, these smaller end of clients, we're not necessarily used to looking at how their invoices have been paid, because some of them we haven't been doing things like bank recs. Some of them we might not see bank statements because there's no business bank account. It's it's not a one size fits all scenario, but if we can make it more uniform, then that's obviously a bonus to us and to our staff.
Definitely. And I assume because they built it from the ground up, they've been able to make it into a language that the client understands and designed for that smaller client. Am I making the right assumption there?
Yeah, totally. So there is some the terminology in use where it's fitting the MTD submissions as well, because I think that's important in terms of the categorizations, or nominal codes. I guess as accountants, that's how we think of it, but the clients don't want to hear about nominal codes because they don't. But what they might have seen before is the categories that are on the self-assessment return, because no matter how we're doing, from however we're doing that process, the clients have ended up with a tax return. Now they're going to end up with quarterly submissions and a making tax digital tax return at the end. The categories, because they're the same as the ones that they used on the self-assessment return, if they're seeing them within product, which they are, that's a plus, because it's already things that they, understand. Well, not necessarily even understand, but they're used to seeing.
Really right, yeah. Because me and Amy was on a podcast yesterday, and we were looking at a rival solution and what they were putting together, and it becomes overwhelming, right? And you think about it from a client's point of view, especially the clients we're going to be forcing for MTD. We need simplicity, we need straightforward, we need something that's not intimidating, don't we? That's what we need out of MTD software. And one of my next follow-up questions that is, I assume, and again, full assumption here, but if I needed to move the client from individual to accounting, is there a pathway for me to do that?
At the moment, I believe that individual from the free version to the paid version, so that step up in the individual product, there is a direct, and that's absolutely fine. But I think there is a problem, there is a barrier, I think, between individual and accounting at the moment. What their kind of timeline for that is, I'm not sure, but I know that is a bugbear that I've kind of raised a few times, in that I've said, hold on a minute, we can't upgrade. But I think Sage are coming back at that at the minute with, these are two quite different products, almost saying, don't get it wrong. And of course, clients grow. So we do need that to be sorted. We do. Look, and if it's not going to be kind of a step up where we can just zoom them across, then we need a solution from Sage that helps us with that journey of onboarding them onto the next product, because clients do grow and become VAT registered or whatever. So at the moment, you can't go from the individual through to accounting. But it is something that I know I'm screaming for, and other accountants that I speak to have agreed with me. So, watch this space. Hopefully they'll listen on that. Awesome.
Now, I know we're close on time, so one final question for everyone. I've got one more as well, but Amy, do you want to go first?
I don't have any other questions, because I just think it sounds good, and the fact there's a free version, I think I'll have a little play. I'm going to have a little play back in my Sage world, going back in time.
Is there any questions you're in?
You've answered all my questions, Sam. I was going to ask about CIS, about landlords, and about pricing and stuff. So you've covered it all. Thank you.
That's cool. Sorry, I've got a bit of a delay. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah, the CIS product, the way CIS works within accounting is really strong as well. So anybody that does have CIS, I've used the CAS module on various competitors, and I do genuinely think that Sage have got that nailed. Like, it works really, really well. What I'll do as well, I will ask Mr. MTD to watch this episode and drop in your show notes on, you know, whether I've said anything at all that is a little bit wrong or out of, you know, kilter of where Sage are at. I'll see whether he's permitted to correct anything that I've said in terms of pricing or any of the nitty gritty. But yeah, so
cool. Yeah, he said he's going to watch it on catch up because he's on another webinar or something at the same time that he's hosting. So
of course, yeah. When did not talk about MTD? I've got one final. It's less of a question, more of a statement to give you a chance to talk about it, because again, excitement from this, the AI element, the Copilot, Sage Copilot side, the bit that really excited me when I was seeing kind of like a concept of it, and I don't know if it's live now or if it's in product or if it's still in concept, but was that idea that, you know, you were talking about that chat box and everything else, but the idea that you could get Sage to ask for a piece of information from, or you can ask for a piece of information from the client, and then this Copilot was able to kind of look at that information, make sure it's correct, right? Like, they're the sort of things where we weren't even thinking about AI doing that for us before, but Sage have kind of gone, right, hold my beer, here's what we're going to be using the AI for. Like be impressed with it, be wowed by it. Have you had a play with that sort of stuff yet? Is it early days? Is it active in the thing? Just give a quick rundown of what you're thinking about the Sage Copilot element of it.
So the AI side, the Copilot, that it excites me as well, and I'm not like usually the one to be like really into stuff like that that's really forward thinking, but definitely excited by it. It's already proven itself by what it can do in the VAT space. So for anyone that does have any Sage accounting clients, turn on Copilot or ask Sage, you know, like to guide you through that and see what it's doing with your VAT stuff. Because I think if it's going to be as good for MTD income tax as it is for the VAT, then we are right to be excited by Copilot. I'm talking about things like, you know, pattern spotting, error spotting, anomalies, like things that, come on now, we're looking for the same stuff on VAT returns all the time. Has somebody put VAT on VAT charges, whatever, you know. So Copilot is doing that, so that's really cool. So if anybody has got access to kind of test that on your VAT bit that you already like know and use, you'll automatically, I think, be excited by what they're bound to start doing with MTD for income tax when it comes to Copilot.
Love that. I mean, I want to be respectful, and we are very close to end. So quickly, just going to go through the questions that came through while we're talking. Paul says, I have one client on Sage and they helped me move from the desktop to online. The support was great every stage, from setting up my account to migrating data and introducing the changes to the client. Really just summing up what you've already said there, Sam. So that's amazing to hear.
And they don't charge for that either. So because I've done that too. Wow. It's really good. Yeah.
Amazing. Paul also says, I struggle to get clients to communicate through QuickBooks. My accountants, smaller clients, just don't log in to it enough. But this is where we've got to tell our clients why it's so important to use that. So I think what Sam was saying there about just let them pay using the tap to pay system. It's little things like that, isn't it, that will encourage them to get into their Sage or QuickBooks, whatever solution, easier and more often. We've got to be promoting that positivity, like Sam said at the very beginning. And Mahu said as well, thank you very much for all for this week episode. Great to know more about Sage from Sam. So loving that. Thank you very much. And Kirsty did say, lol, hashtag Mr. MTD at Chris. And who also said, great to hear Sam for the first time. So, I mean, obviously you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much, Sam, for coming on there. Amy, Suzannah, before we let Sam have her a chance to plug away, anything you guys want to plug? Amy, you want to go first?
Finally, Being Counted a Boss podcast is released today. Yay! So myself and James are doing a podcast with Will Rush from Expert, where we're continuing talking about how we started our practice, what we've done right, what we've done wrong. But the first episode is all about trainers and Lego.
Perfect. We will definitely be listening to that. Susanna, anything you'd like to plug?
Nothing to plug for me personally, but I know that our previous guest, Tim Charleston, has done an episode of with Natasha Everard on her Absolutely Bookkeeping podcast that's gone live this week. So look out for that, because that'll be a good listen.
Amazing, 100%. And Sam, this is your moment to plug some more. Thank you so much for being a guest. Go away. Tell people where they can find you, how to get more information, etc., etc. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Aaron. So best place to find me is on LinkedIn, Samantha Mitcham. I do also have Instagram and Facebook pages running, SJCM Accountancy, but LinkedIn is the place that I hang out the most. I'm currently halfway through an MTD series with CPD Store. So I've been doing webinars for them for some time now on various subjects, but MTD we're hitting pretty hard and we're only going to keep going with that. So I'm actually jumping on one at 2 o'clock today. So I'll be MTD'd out by the end of today. But they're definitely worth checking out CPD Star if you are interested in everything MTD, from the technical detail right away through to what this is going to be for you and your practice and your clients. So I'm trying to cover that whole what this is going to be in reality for us as accountants and bookkeepers there. So if anyone's interested, head over and have a look. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Well, thank you for coming along. You've been absolutely amazing. As you can definitely tell by listening in, if you need anything to know with the World Sage, you know where to go. So make sure you hit up Sam. We'll try and make sure that producer Lizzie puts links into your CPD training as well. And there we have it. Thank you everyone for listening to this MTD Watch Series. And we'll see you this time next week for another exciting episode to do with free agent next week, isn't it? It's free agent that we're going to be talking about. So, yeah, I mean, you've set the bar high, Sam. So good luck to them is all I can say. Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.